Hey everyone, alright, I'm going to do a slow spin so that you can see how far I've come with him since the day I started, which I think was day before yesterday. Gotta pull him in to spin him around or else he's going to go out of the frame. So that's where he is right now. And what I want to do is lift him off of the turntable. And that's going to take a little bit of doing because I know he's solidly on there, but for the most part, he's getting close to leather hard on the outside. I forgot to take the plastic off as soon as I got home so that he could be air drying some. And of course, because I'm so undisciplined, I'm taking my little rest and now I'm ready to work. And he's a little more pliable than I normally would like for hollowing out, but I'm impatient, you know, that's no secret. And I'm ready to move on to the next step and really start finessing him. So right now I'm just digging in the scraper to separate him from the turntable. You know, just going there slowly but surely. The clay on the bottom is still pretty moist. I'm going to see if I can lift him from here. Nope. I got to go in from the side. And now I'm going in from the other side. And hopefully this should be enough to separate him from it. All right. Still pretty wet on the bottom. So I'm going to slam and wiggle, and that's just in an effort to flatten the bottom out more. And I'm just cleaning the moisture off the table. I'm going to move this out of the way for right now. It's got a lot of residue on it. I just shake it out onto the floor. And the floor has a large area rug that at some point when I have enough money, not right now, I'm going to have to get a really strong vacuum cleaner so that I can start vacuuming up all of this clay dust. Because there's a lot of it, a lot. And I used to try to sweep it, and that was stupid because I would just create a fog in the house of clay dust. And they say you don't want to be breathing this stuff in because it's bad for you. So the rug is a hot mess with a lot of clay particles, a lot of clay dust. And until I get that wonderful vacuum cleaner, it's going to stay that way and keep building up until I can give it a proper cleaning. And then I'll make sure to vacuum like every day, every other day at the least. And I'll make it happen. So now it's time for me to find the ever elusive wire. All right, got it right here. You guys are familiar with it. Here's the wire tool, and it has two handles attached for balance. And I'm going to start sliding it underneath. If I can do that successfully, I might not be able to go as flat as I want to. It's not letting me. So what I'm going to have to do is lay the wire down, lift him, and then put him on top of the wire. Wire's not cooperating. All right, I think right about there should be good. Let me tip him over, get this other side. I'm just pressing my fingers down to the table so that I can center the wire where I need it to be and try to get an even amount of wire on the left side as is on the right side. So that when I come up and start the slice, I can do it smoothly and evenly. Still need to pull a little bit more on the right side. That's what I'm doing. A little bit more still, just a smidge. And now that I've pulled up, the handles are just about even. So yesterday in the video, I was telling you where I was going to come up, and it's basically going to go right behind the eye. So I'm just lining up the wire now, right behind the eye on both sides, and up here into the top. So that's why you have these handles, so that I can pull up and make this clean slice. Now I've got to put my finger right here just because as I'm pulling up, I don't want it to go backwards and slide into the hair. And even still, it did something that I wasn't quite expecting, but I'm going to have to work with it. I can fill those spots in. All right, so that slice is now complete. And I avoided the eyes, which was very important to me. So I'm just going to pull this forward and separate it. And I'm going to push this back. And it can stand there solidly on its own. I'm not worried about it toppling over, but I'm still going to rest it against something just as a precaution, because you'll look away and you'll think everything is okay, and then you look back and realize that it's not as stable as you thought, and you certainly don't want to have both of your hands occupied and realize that, you know, one half is tipping over about to fall, and you can't react reflexively and stop that from happening before you damage, you know, a major part of your piece. So right now I've got tools all over the place. I really need to clean this area up but I haven't been worrying about it because I'm working. So I was looking for my needle tool so that I can draw the lines to create the walls that I don't want to go beyond as I'm sculpting, as I'm hollowing, I'm sorry, and I cannot find the needle tool. I don't know where it is, and there's no telling where I put it. So if I sound far away right now, it's because I'm reaching behind me, and yep, that's where it was, behind me. So here's the needle tool, and all I'm gonna do, like I said, this is still a little bit softer than I would normally work with, and I'm gonna draw the lines. And remember, if you've been following me along this journey, I like to keep it about and forgive my fingernails because I have not done them in a while, so they're messy. So you want to do about a fingernail width. I usually do it a little bit wider, the pinky nail width. And you've got to be mindful of the areas that are thin. Like this is a very thin part, so I'm not going deep in on that area. I'm just dragging it down to here and actually pulling up. And this is your boundary. You're not going to hollow further than the outsides, the inside. You're not going to hollow further than the inside of these lines. You want to stay inside this line you've created. And you follow the form. It's like tracing, you know? All right, so there we go. I've got a nice clean guideline for that. I'm going to stop for just a second to throw some slip into that area that I sliced into inadvertently, and I'll add more clay to it when I'm done. But for right now, I just want to fill in the gap with a little bit of slip. Not that much. And I'm just patting it right onto there. And that's just to cover up the 2 gashes I created. There were 2 where the wire slipped. All right, we're turning that plate back, and I think I'm going to go in with this tool to hollow. Very self-explanatory. You know how this goes. And as a matter of fact, I think I'm going to go ahead and put him back on the platform so that I can spin around. Well, let me scrape the platform because it's still got moist clay residue on there that it's just going to stick to. And when I place my order for groceries this weekend, what I'm going to do is get some wax paper so that I can just line this with it, because this turntable is pretty beat up. It's gouged out an area there, an area is gouged out there because I do a lot on it. And someone gave this to me, so it's just sort of breaking up. And because this surface definitely attracts the moist clay, I want to have some sort of barrier so that I can lift things off easily. Now, I could probably do that with foil paper, but I don't really want to, so I'm just going to wait until I can get the wax paper. So the hollowing begins, and I hush now. On this side, I'm applying what I learned from the mistake on the other side, and that was how I went in with the tool. I went in straight. So, of course, because this concaves in a little bit more, I'm creating too thin an area right here because that curves inward. I needed to have come at an angle in order to keep that same wall thickness so that I won't have to go in and refortify it like I had to do on this side because I didn't follow my own creativity. I should have been much more aware of how I sculpted this. And I'm sure a more seasoned sculptor would not have made that mistake that I just made. But like I said, it's not an irreversible mistake with clay. That's the beautiful thing. You always get to go in and restructure and refortify any areas that you messed up. So, you know, there's no reason to panic if you realize there's a thin area, because while the clay is still soft like this, you're in great shape. All you have to do is put what you didn't mean to take out back and keep moving forward. Now this area goes out, in, out, deeply in, out. So you've just got to think about that by turning your piece around as you're sculpting and following those lines that you created. And hollowing out from the side is allowing me to gauge how far in I should go. And I'm also thinking that the best thing with this is going to be to pick it up, create an outline on the bottom, and then I'll have even more perspective on how to move forward with this hollowing in a way that's not going to create a lot of work for me. So that's what we're going to do in just a second. I'm picking it up at the thickest part, not here, because this has been hollowed. If I grab right here, I'm just going to pinch it in, and then it's going to be not anything like impossible, but just a little challenging when I go to rejoin it to this. So all of this is still solid area at this point. So I'm going to pick it up from here, and again, clay is moist, and I have to just carefully outline. I'm holding it firmly, but I'm also still holding it very gently. And because I have such a light grip on it, there's the danger of dropping this, losing my grip and dropping it all together. So again, clay teaches you patience. It teaches you to move in measured strokes, measured pulls, and just not to rush it. You'll get where you want to be. But it's frustrating to have to build something up that you had looking exactly the way you needed it to. So avoid that by just moving slowly. Don't yank, don't pull, just guide. Did you see that little turn that I did? So I basically just did that with the tool in order to scoop out what I needed instead of trying to yank or pull. And I'll do that again right here, so just watch. I'm just twisting the tool. And it's wire, so it's, it's bending on itself. And you might have to go in and straighten that out. If you can see, it twisted in on itself. That's not the biggest deal right now. I'm not really worried about that. And at this point, I want to rest it down, but I can't afford to rest it on something hard. So I need to give that nose and mouth an area where it's not going to be smashed and flattened out. So I grab my trusty towel. I just got to sort of maneuver it and fold it in a way that's going to cushion his face at this point. So I just let him sort of fall forward, holding him here with my hand, and now I can continue hollowing. Real quick shout out, because a lot of times people comment on my cuff and ring. Trying to get it all in the camera. Just sort of twist it around. But that's my cuff and ring, and that is from, piece of clay on my finger. That's my cuff and my ring, and that is from True Face by Grace. That's TRUFACE by BY, Grace, GRACE. And they really have amazing jewelry. They're on Instagram. They have amazing accessories, clothing items, bags, you name it. So definitely go check them out. I love wearing my pieces from them while I'm sculpting, because I feel like it's, giving me some of the guidance of the ancestors. And it's just beautiful to know that something I was looking for when I was looking for tutorials on sculpting, and was missing the fact that I was never getting the chance to see the representation of Black hands sculpting, and seeing Black hands sculpting items that were very specific to our race, our culture, and what's beautiful about us. I'm hoping that one day these videos are going to serve that purpose for someone else who is looking for representation in this amazing medium of clay. So having this on is just, you know, even more vibe. You know what I'm saying? All right, so I think that I have hollowed out as much as I dare right in this area because I'm not all that aware of what I'm doing. So I've got to pick this up and look at it a different way just to make sure that I'm not going to dig too far in, because he's got prominent cheekbones, and then there are other areas, like this part right here is an area that I have to leave alone because that's his eye. This part right here is directly behind the eye, so there's not too much I want to do to that because I don't want it to be too thin, but a little bit needs to come out. So I'm treading very lightly right now. So as not to undo a lot of, you know, solid structure and foundation that I've already created. Now this is right behind his forehead area, and as you can see, narrow up top comes out here. So I'll take this, the loop, and just sort of dig in and follow that. And from time to time, you just feel with your fingers to see if you're keeping that thickness of about that much. I just felt myself push something out of whack. That's all right. Like I said, ideally, would have let this get a little harder on the outside, but impatience. Now that's getting behind that eye area, so I have to stay in the middle. Because, you know, our boy has a nice big nose, so there's a lot that I can pull out from directly behind it, but not too far. So I turned the tool at a little bit of an angle like that to dig in, but not go too far to either the left or the right. You are trying to hollow with some sort of uniformity, as close as you can get to uniformity, so that the clay doesn't crack and pull apart because one area is so thin that it dried quickly, but this area is so thick that it's taking a long time to dry, because all of that promotes the mishaps when it goes into the kiln. I'm going to hope that I can remember to put some outlets for air, poke some holes in inconspicuous areas on this sculpture so that air can escape. And right there, I can feel that this wall is getting thin, so I need to move out from that, leave that intact, and I'm just moving out and away. Now I'm right behind that cheekbone. I can afford to dig in a little, not too much. So I'm digging in and then pulling outward. Already I nicked right there, but that's not a biggie. Staying away from the area behind the eyes. I can already see a little vulnerable point where this clay needs to be tucked to close up a little gap. So I'm just using the tool to do exactly that. I think that that's all I'm going to do for this, because I can always slice that nose and go in from there, because I do want to hollow him out considerably, and this nose has a lot of clay, but trying to approach it from in here, I can't see what I'm doing the way I need to. So I'll be able to just split the nose right here, and you know how it goes. We apply the slip and just join it right back together. So now I'm taking this tool and I'm just compressing in, hopefully getting rid of any air pockets that would leave this piece vulnerable to explosion in the kiln when that moisture heats up in that air pocket and that water expands. Now, of course, a good part of that is making sure that you have more than adequate drying time, and that differs from sculptor to sculptor, it seems. I like to give mine a month. Lots of times I give it more just because sometimes when they're ready, I don't have the money to go rent the kiln. So some pieces end up being on my patio or in my home for 2-3 months before they visit the kiln. And that's fine too, as long as it's dry. You know, you just want it bone dry, inside out, compressed and compacted. And hopefully it will survive the kiln. And I'm so sorry that I speak so slowly, guys. It's because I'm thinking of things. So it's like there are things going on in my head. I'm talking aloud because I have to for this, but normally I wouldn't be speaking aloud. So I end up, it would just be a thought process, you know, inner monologue, or dialogue rather, not monologue, inner dialogue that would be going on that I'm not really voicing. But because I'm hoping this will be helpful to someone, me narrating my process like this, sometimes I get lost into a little bit of a concentration zone. Other times, because I'm doing two things at once, I can't think of the word that I need to describe what's happening. So it gets sped up 1.5 times when I do the editing. So that helps it not be so monotonous for you, I hope, you know. And again, this is for somebody who just wants to know, how did a newbie get started, you know? And you can just watch my evolutionary progress, and, you know, hopefully another year or two from now, you'll see where I'm doing things differently, even more efficiently, and still getting great results, you know. We'll see. Time will tell. All right, so that piece is hollowed for right now. I'm going to move my towel out of the way. I'm going to sit it down and let it rest. Again, we are in an air-conditioned environment here, so this outside is going to get leather hard, because it's not quite leather hard right now. It's still a little too soft, a little too pliable. And once you're starting to add detail, it's better when it's harder clay, because you can sort of, you're chiseling then, as opposed to molding and forming. You're just chiseling and refining. All right, so that's him for right now, and I've got to prepare, so I'm just going to move him as far back as is safely possible. Transfer this clay to the other side. I'm going to spritz it with some water just to keep it in workable condition. I'm going to pull this piece forward, because this is, you know, the other half that needs to be hollowed out. And we will do that when I come back, because now I take a break. And this video has been 43 minutes and 10 seconds. So thank you for hanging in there with me. I'm going to catch you on the flip side. Probably have to recharge my phone before I can do this second hollowing. So we'll kill two birds with one stone. Peace.